Wednesday, people. Hump day on the number one farm for Bama. Football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith. Touchdown, Alabama. Magazine, Crimson Tide taking on LSU Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Time kickoff. Bryant-Denny Stadium, ESPN will have the call on the matchup. We're bringing you the show from the magic city of Birmingham, streaming this to you on YouTube. Speaking of the channel, go ahead right now, drop that thumbs up, give a like on the show, hit that subscribe button, turn all of those notifications on so that way you can have all of your alerts, news, notes, commentary on your favorite program, that being the Crimson Tide. We're also streaming this to you on Facebook and Twitter as well. Got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss here on the show. Got my man Carter Bryant, aka CarterThePower, coming on at 6:30 to break down the Alabama-LSU matchup from the Tigers' perspective. But we want to hear from you guys tonight on the show. 205-448-1358. Number to call in to let your voice be heard on the show. 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. Want to hear from you. But daily Super Chat Go, $75. Daily Super Chat Go. Now, it has been a tough week for the Alabama football family, with some tragedy happening on Tuesday. First and foremost, our thoughts and our prayers and our condolences here at TDA go out to the families of the 23-year-old young lady who lost her life in the tragic car accident involving one Henry Ruggs III. Our thoughts and prayers also go to Henry as well. Just a very tragic, trying situation. And one where, all you can do is cry, pray, and groan in that order. Cry, pray, and groan. So prayers, thoughts, condolences to everybody involved in that situation in Las Vegas. And then on top of that, our prayers and thoughts go out to the family of Grant Hill, former Alabama offensive lineman, passed away on Tuesday as well. Hill came to the Crimson Tide in the 2013 class as a 4-star from Huntsville, a guy that had immense potential to be an outstanding offensive lineman. Played some in 2013 as a freshman, earned praise from his teammates, was on the 2014 SEC championship team. 2015, he left the program due to a medical issue. The medical issue was never truly disclosed. Did not play football again for Alabama, but did earn his degree. But just sad that the young man passed away yesterday at 26 years of age. The University of Alabama issued a statement saying Grant was a tremendous player, a great young man, a wonderful person, and a great teammate. So just our thoughts to all of the families hurting when you look at things going on where the Alabama football program is concerned. But before we jump to topic number one of the conversation, gotta shout out my man John Ivory. John, what's going on in those comments now?
What's going on, man? You had to put me after the bad news, man. But
I wasn't trying to, bro. I've been numb since Tuesday, John. I wasn't trying to, man.
Man. Wait up, check this out, man. I'm shouting the chat out, man. I see Justin Riley in here. What's going on? Plow Jogger,
baby.
Now, Jimmy Clay, we see you got your jersey up.
Hey, you a Hall of Famer now, Jimmy.
Yeah, that's the we're gonna have the Heisman Corner. That's what it's called. So if you want your jersey on the wall as well, check out that link in the chat. I just put up that is the membership. You can become a Heisman member to get your jersey on the wall. And we're gonna fix that wall up some more. Also, there's other membership tiers you can check out. But shout out to Gucci Tide. Ryan Milton is in here.
Gucci Tide.
Aaron McGuire. George Stokes, what's going on? We got Willie 351 in here.
777, baby.
Yes, sir. We got Bill from New York. What's going on? Coach Smook is in here. Coach Smook, Anthony. Just shouting some of y'all out. I'm here to read the chat. Make sure you get in some questions. If you have any questions, I'm here to. We're gonna be on Talk Your Talk in the call segments, and I'm gonna be shouting you guys out. So keep the chat lit, and I'm gonna hand it over to Steven.
Appreciate that, John Ivory, doing his thing there, reading those comments. I was not trying to have you after the bad news, John. Believe me, I was not. It's just I have been numb since Tuesday, getting that story on, Henry Ruggs, condolences, prayers, all of that out to that situation, and Grant Hill also. But we're here on this show to talk Crimson Tide football, to bring information, to have fun, and to enjoy ourselves here. So we get into now topic number one of the conversation here, and that being the debut of the college football playoff rankings this time around, dropped on Tuesday. And I remember I said, John, this was going to be one of two things where the CFP was concerned. They were going to either put Alabama at 2, or they were going to put Alabama at 3, 4, or 5. But the rankings came out on Tuesday, and Alabama starts off at number 2. Debuts at number 2, and you have a lot of people kind of bothered by this, upset by this, going, why is Alabama at number 2? Why is Alabama at number 2? They're not consistent enough. They haven't done this. They haven't done that. They haven't looked great. Why is Alabama at number 2? People, calm down. It will solve itself. It will fix itself. This is just the initial debut of the college football playoff rankings. Alabama at number 2. From 1 down to 4, you've got Georgia, Alabama, Michigan State, and Oregon. Those are the top 4 seeds there in the playoff initially, in the initial rankings. Georgia, Alabama, Michigan State, and Oregon. But what's interesting here is, going back to Alabama for a second, the CFP, the College Football Playoff Committee, the main chairperson spoke after the rankings came out, and what was said was Alabama's strength of schedule, the Crimson Tide's consistency, its strong wins in terms of beating other ranked teams in the initial CFP rankings, but also the loss to Texas A&M, according to the committee, was a quality loss. So they took all of these things into consideration. They took all of these things in order of importance. But I feel like the main thing the committee did was it looked at, with Alabama, you're going to always have a situation where we're going to get the best matchup, the best game, the best ratings, the best revenue, the best television share, all the eyeballs, all the attention. Alabama never disappoints where that is concerned. So I feel like at the end of the day, that was what the committee was looking at most of all for Alabama. Now, 2 situations set up here where the rankings were concerned. The first situation that sets up is, and I mentioned this, John, on Monday, is that the majority of national media, here's what their eyes were focused on. The best 2 teams in college football are Alabama and Georgia. So we all know this, we all sense this, we all see this. Let's just fast forward this thing to the SEC championship game in Atlanta, and let's get these 2 teams on the field, because that's what everybody wants to see. There would be so many storylines in this matchup when you discuss Kirby Smart. Can he finally crack the code on Coach Saban? Can he finally get him a national championship? Everything for Coach Smart has been building toward this year, this potential game, this potential matchup. Can Kirby Smart finally get that done? When you look at Coach Saban, the storyline would be, can Saban still keep that edge on Kirby Smart and keep him from winning a championship? Because for a lot of you, it's, if Kirby does not get it this year, will he ever get it? If in terms of the matchup on the field, the storylines would be Alabama's high-flying offense under Bryce Young at quarterback. That's averaging 46 points per game. Could this group wear down the unmovable, elite, dominant, marquee, attacking Georgia defense that's playing like the Alabama defense of old under Coach Saban? But also a storyline for Alabama's defense would be, could it be able to go out there and shut down the Georgia offense? So there'll be a lot of storylines for that game, but everybody's looking toward that matchup. So that's one of the reasons why the committee had it at Georgia 1, Alabama 2, following the situation there, or the thought process, as I should say, from national media. The other significant thing I picked up from the initial playoff rankings is, if you don't believe Alabama runs college football, if you don't believe Nick Saban has immense influence on the sport, if you don't think Alabama truly pays the bills, that the initial rankings, if you look at all 4 head coaches, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Mel Tucker, Mario Cristobal, all 4 of these head coaches were all on Alabama's 2015 national championship team. How about that? all 4 of those coaches were on the Crimson Tide's 2015 National Championship team. Saban had a squad of a staff at that time. Kirby Smart was the defensive coordinator. Mel Tucker was the defensive backs coach. He was credited with getting Eddie Jackson to make the move from cornerback to free safety. We saw the year Eddie Jackson had 6 picks, including 2 for touchdowns. And Mario Cristobal was the offensive line coach, assistant head coach, and recruiting coordinator. So we're seeing the influence, the major Saban influence across all of college football with these initial CFP rankings, having Georgia 1, Bama 2, Michigan State 3, and Oregon 4. Now, going back to Alabama here for a minute, I thought initially that Bama would be put at 3. I did not think the committee would jump Bama over Cincinnati because of all of the conversation of the committee hates the little guys. They hate the little teams. They hate the small teams. No disrespect toward Cincinnati. Disrespect toward Oklahoma. But, I mean, it ended up happening. I thought it would be Bama at 3, Bama at 4, or Bama at 5. But just looking at the body of work Alabama's put in, the quality wins, even the loss to Texas A&M was one of quality as well. And I know a lot of Oklahoma fans have been saying, the disrespect toward the Sooners. Bama gets a pass. They're at number 2. They've struggled with all these teams at number 2. Look, Oklahoma, you won games by 1 possession against teams below 500. You let a 3-win Kansas team hang around. You let a couple of 1-win teams hang around. You let a Nebraska team hang around. So it is what it is. But I feel like this is the time here, John, in college football, especially for Alabama, where now the committee wants to see, it doesn't matter at what point we start your tape or we stop your tape, can we see full dominance from start to finish? This is what the committee wants to see now for Alabama. At the moment we start the tape, at the moment we stop the tape, do we see full, utter dominance from here on out? And also along with that, here's a chance for Alabama to prove the committee right and debuting it at number 2 by showing everybody in the country that it's deserving of that ranking, by showing everybody in the country that's coming out, taking on everybody, taking out everybody, dominating everybody. I mentioned this before. The 2015 season, the 2017 season, and the 2020 season, all of those 3 years in the CFP era, Alabama winning national championships, they came out of the bye week 16-1, coming off bye weeks in those 3 years combined. So this is a huge chance for Coach Saban and this team to show and to prove this is the baddest team. This is the best number 2 team in the country in these rankings, trying to prove the committee right here on the field, because the committee sees we get consistency from Bama, we get marquee matchups from Bama, we get big eyeballs on Bama, big attention on Bama, big TV, big revenue shares. We get big viewership in terms of the Crimson Tide. So starting from LSU now, coming out of his bye week, starting from LSU on out, Bama's got to dominate from start to finish. Going to be fun to see how all of this unfolds. But we take our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial. Just getting started. When we get back, we go to the phone lines to take your calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your interactions. It's coming after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up.
I'm Malachi Moore. You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith on Touchdown Alabama YouTube channel.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit Emily'sHeirloomPoundCakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at Emily'sHeirloomPoundCakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
And we are back in here, folks. Back in here to the action from the break on a Wednesday hump day. Number one form, number one ticket for your Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Before we go to the phone lines and take some super chats also as well, got to give you this update right here. Coach Saban in his presser on this evening talked about one Drew Sanders. Sanders has practiced this week. He's looked good all week. He will have a couple of more tests done between Thursday and Friday. Those tests come out well. Drew Sanders will play against LSU. So that's big news for the Alabama defense. Drew Sanders practiced well all week. Got a couple more tests to go through. A test check out well. He will play against the Tigers. But I get to these super chats right now. We got my man Jimmy Badman Clay dropping in that $25 donation, helping us out on the show. And he came back with another $25, so $50 for my man Jimmy Clay. And we got my man Bill from New York with that $5 donation, helping us out right here on the show. But before we get into the phone segment, the call segment, John, what's up with those comments right now?
Yeah, man, what's going on? Just shouting some more people out here. I see Eric D is in here. We also got Cody Ritchie on Facebook.
We got Cody in here?
Cody
Let's
Ritchie,
go, Cody.
yeah, watching from Facebook, and Cody Jackboy on Facebook. I see Brian Prendergast. Hope I said that right. We got MFR Jones in here.
Let's
Aaron
go,
McGuire.
Jones.
Yes, we got J. Cole and Tom Reed is in here. So appreciate y'all for tuning in. Do y'all know what character this is, by the way? Do y'all know who this is? I'm just rocking this today. But yeah, we in here. Let me take it back to Steven. Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate y'all for reading those comments right there. Tom Reed, he's a Georgia fan. We appreciate him even hanging out with us on the show, on the platform here on a Wednesday. But we're now going to the phone lines to take your calls. Call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. But I'm going to call in 205-448-1358. We grab this call right here to start the night. You are live on the show on a Wednesday. What's poppin'? What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Stephen M. Robert from Mobile again.
Robert, what's happening, brother?
Hey, you're definitely right about everything you said about Alabama needing to start. Okay, this is gut check time now. It's time to start proving it. Committee did you through your bone by putting you in second, by making you the second team. But now it's time for you to start showing today, hey, we're not only the second team, we're the second best team by a mile. And if you don't play your cards right, we'll be put to number one. And it's all right in front of them. Everything's they still control their own destiny, and they got the team that can do it. It's just time to start getting it together and start showing it. Great to hear about Sanders coming back. We'll definitely need him on defense. He was playing pretty good before he left, so it'd be great to have him back in the mix again to help shore up that defense, but especially down the stretch for the Iron Bowl. Right now, it's LSU. You are 29 points spread on LSU. Do it again. You're 29-point spread on LSU last year. We're 29 points this year. You beat that spread last year by a mile. Let's do the same this year. I was looking for another 55-17 beat down to LSU. Claim back that house they claim they took for us. So it's all in front of you. Guys, let's get it together. No more busted coverages. No more half behind arm tackles. Get those guys on the ground. Stay with your man, and let's take this thing on home. So, I mean, it's all right in front of you. And this also shows why we need why we need the playoff. I mean, Cincinnati's out and with very little chance of getting in. Well, I don't like that. I mean, that's not right. But with the schedule they play, with the teams they play, that's what it deserves to be. 12-team playoff fixes all of this. And if Alabama were to stumble against Georgia, about maybe 3 points in the game of the century type atmosphere, it'd be unfortunate for Alabama. to be out when they're clearly one of the two best teams in the country. 12-team playoff fixes that too. So they definitely need to get on board with that and get this thing going. If we have to drop some regular season games to get it going, we need to start doing it. We can't keep telling the Cincinnatis of the world, well, you might be good enough, but we're not going to even let you compete. We're not going to even let you try. If you had a nice run, you had a nice scare, you had a nice little few games, but you're not going to be allowed to play with the big boys. Well, let them prove they can or cannot play with the big boys by playing some games. That's why we need to expand this playoff. But a good talk with you, brother.
Absolutely, Robert from Mobile there with those thoughts on Alabama and also the college football playoff. At some point, the committee, Bill Hancock, is going to have to expand that thing, but we'll see when that may come. We grab a call right here. You're live on the show on a Wednesday. What's popping? What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hi, Stephen. Bill from New York. How are you?
My man Bill. What's happening, big dog?
Okay, I got a theory. I'd really love to hear your opinion on it. My thing is, for us to win a title, I think the real way we can really, really improve is on defense. Because my thing is, how much can we improve on offense as compared to last year? Look, other than the left tackle, I don't know how many positions we're better this year than we were at last year. I don't see how it can happen. You got Mac Jones tearing it up, winning games in the NFL. Devontae, who's Devontae? Who's going to be out with it's not possible this year. Next year, maybe. I don't know about this year, but on defense, Stephen, we have the talent. And I think the way for us to win is to shut down the other teams. Got to blitz, got to hurt. Got to hit their quarterbacks. Got to do things right in the secondary. And I think we can. I really do. I think we can. And I was wondering how you feel about that. What I'm saying in terms of defense is the way for us to improve the most.
I agree with that, Bill. And here's the reason why I do. It's coming off this bye week. You have to have your full attention on the matchup that you're going up against. So for the last 2 weeks, Alabama's had full attention on LSU. This is a good thing. Go out there, show why you had the full attention on LSU, dominating the Tigers. Then when you have Arkansas down the road, down the pipeline, Auburn, even the SEC championship, show that same type of energy and mentality. The defense, it does have the talent. It does have the players. But now, coming off this bye week, seeing how the committee debuted you at number 2 because it believes in the consistency that you've shown, Bama defensively has got to put their undivided attention on each matchup and give the effort in each matchup. But appreciate my man Bill from New York for that call right there. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling tonight? State your name and where you're calling from.
What's going on, Stephen A? It's your boy, Coach Smoot, man.
Big man in the building.
Alabama. You know what time it is. Hey, man, I miss y'all, man. I'm telling you, when I miss a show, I feel like I miss like a whole, era of Alabama football, man. I feel like I'm just slacking, man. But I'm glad to be back in the house tonight, live, man. I've been listening to the fans, been seeing, different reports come out, different sports outlets, beat writers writing about how Alabama is undeserving of our second place spot. And honestly, if we're looking at it on paper, we don't deserve to be number 2. If you're looking at film, we're number 2. Honestly, Stephen, regardless of how great that Georgia defense is showing up right now, we saw what Georgia did when they played against a complete a team that can match with them talent-wise. The only thing they got on Florida is that they're deeper. Georgia recruits at an elite level like Alabama. Florida really exposed Georgia. AR-15 gave Georgia 21 points. I'm not worried at all. Only thing I'm worried about is Alabama. I get tired of this Georgia talk. I'm worried about Alabama. I'm worried about our free safety position. I'm worried about the inside linebackers continuing to improve. I'm worried about the defensive line continue to show, the improvements that they've been showing because, man, we get a crazy push when those guys are fired up. But you could tell when we're going through the motions on defense. So hopefully the level of importance, the team can see the level of importance in each game, not just trying to look ahead to Georgia, not looking ahead to Iron Bowl and all the conspiracies with that we need to take it one game at a time. We need to continue to grow in our ball control method. It's what best fits this team's needs right now. Look at the stats. Defense out there for 60 or less snaps, we keep them less than 21 points. Defense out there more than 60 snaps, freaking, it's a bad game. It's a bad game. We're struggling with a tight game. So I think we need to look at the growth week by week, and understand that this process is not, it's not one of those quick things that's going to happen overnight. But I think continual improvement is definitely in sight, man. I really do. And like you were saying about Coach Saban, Coach Saban has 2 weeks to get guys focused, work on the simple stuff, tackling, understanding the concepts of what we're calling. And I believe that for that reason, I feel like we come out a different team. I feel like we see that shutdown defense that we've been waiting to see. I feel like our corners are going to start trusting their feet. I feel like Josh Jobe just needs to go ahead and give up that spot and let Kool-Aid or Banks get back there. But we're going to see, Steven. I got high expectations for this team. I know we got the ability to pull all this together, and I think we're going to be on the high side of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel the same way here, Senator. We appreciate my man, Senator Hines, calling in here. Now, in my opinion, I look at Georgia, and as dominant as Georgia is, and they are, I still feel like this defense that defense has not faced an offense that can really stress it out. It has not faced a quarterback like Bryce Young that can really take the top off of it. It has not faced a running back like Brian Robinson that's going to be running through it. So this is a Georgia defense that has not yet been truly tested. What happens when they get tested? What happens when they get stretched thin? What happens when they get frustrated, when there's some friction provided? Georgia has not faced that friction defensively yet. So we shall see when that test comes. More than likely, that test will come in the SEC title game. Guys, shout out BG with that $35 donation. Appreciate the love there from BG. Who else we got here? My man Cliff Reese in here with that $5 donation. Appreciate Cliff Reese. And we also got Anitra Raby, that $20 donation. Appreciate that from Anitra. And then Gucci Todd has walked in here with that $10 donation to his own credit. You know what it is. The daily Super Chat goal of $75 has been met. Appreciate all of you, the Bama fans, holding up. Now Jimmy Clayton came back with that 50-piece walking up in here. You know Jimmy a bad man. Put some fire on Jimmy. Put some water on Jimmy. Jimmy high. Jimmy Clayton walking up in here, helping us out. Appreciate the love from all of you guys making this your show, your network, your channel here, talking Crimson Tide football. We go to a quick topic right here, and that goes to Joe Montana, Pro Football Hall of Famer, 4-time Super Bowl champion Joe Montana. He was on College Football Live on Tuesday, giving big kudos, big praise to Nick Saban and Alabama. Actually gave the program a huge recruiting tool. He talked about how he really likes how Nick Saban has been producing these quarterbacks to the NFL, and kind of compared it to when USC had Pete Carroll at the time, and Pete Carroll was producing quarterbacks from the Trojans to the NFL. So has Alabama taken on the title of quarterback U? Starting to look that way with Jalen Hurts off to the NFL, though he did have a year at Oklahoma, Tua Tagovailoa in the NFL, now Mac Jones in the NFL, and Bryce Young as a first-year starter playing really, really well, and his trajectory is to go to the NFL. So we got Joe Montana speaking big on Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide in developing the quarterback position. But we go to a break right here, folks, on the show, and touch that down. When we get back, we got my man Carter Bryant, a.k.a. CarterThePower, coming on to break down this matchup between the Tigers and the Crimson Tide from LSU's perspective. You'll hear my man Carter Bryant after this.
You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your 4-finger bling necklace right now at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
As we're back in here, folks, from the break of the number one forum for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. We go over now to the In My Own Words hotline. We pick up our guest of the evening, my man, a good friend of mine. Big name right here. We got Carter Bryant, a.k.a. Carter the Power. He's got the Power Hour show on YouTube talking about those LSU Tigers. Carter the man. Carter, what's going on, brother? How we feeling?
Man, I was on here last year, and I hate it for the second straight year. My dear beloved LSU Tigers, a rivalry that's been so great with all these close matchups. 28-point spread again, man. And look, Steven, I got to shout out your supporters, man, dropping all these super chats. Man, dude, you got a lit fan base. I like it.
I mean, you got to love the Blue Wrench gang. They hyped up. They're energetic. They make my job easier. So you got to love the Blue Wrench gang family. Everybody in that family does an outstanding job in this family. But so, Carter, when you look at this matchup between Alabama and LSU, from a Tigers perspective, looking at Max Johnson at quarterback first and foremost, not having Kayshon Boutte, the most dynamic, the most electrifying receiver for LSU, who becomes that guy that Johnson can go to in this matchup against Alabama? Who's kind of been that guy stepping up in practice the last 2 weeks, giving Johnson that trust?
Yeah, so this is where it gets really fun, right? Because you have like really diehard like viewers that watch your channel, and they get down into the nitty gritty of recruiting. And what makes this matchup so fascinating, Steven, my number one wide receiver that I've ever evaluated on my channel was JoJo Earl. And I was so excited that JoJo Earl was coming to LSU for the longest time. And looky here, he flips to Alabama at the last second. And of course, he's had, a fine true freshman season for you guys. But because JoJo Earl went to LSU, that opened up another slot in the recruiting class, and LSU picked up another freshman wide receiver by the name of Malik Neighbors, who's had a really good year. He looks kind of and plays kind of like a John Mechie. They both wear that number 8 uniform, and this looks like it was a pretty big pickup for LSU. And they have a really young, talented freshman class of wide receivers. They have Jack Besh, a lower-rated receiver like Malik Neighbors that's having a huge true freshman season, and Brian Thomas Jr., number 11, very similar to Ajayi Hall, a very lanky, deep, big-time playmaker for LSU. And these younger wide receivers have gotten the opportunity to play faster and play earlier because Kayshon got hurt. But it wasn't just that. They were able to just beat these other guys out. And look, obviously, they're going to be going up against Kool-Aid and the great defensive backs that Alabama has to offer. It's going to be a great matchup. It's going to be a typical wide receiver corner elite fest that we normally see between LSU and Bama.
If you're just tuning into the show on a Wednesday, in my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine, I got my man Carter Bryant, better known as Carter the Power, covering the LSU Tigers here on the show. So, Carter, looking at just recruiting for a minute here, how big is this matchup, even though Coach O will no longer be at LSU after this season. How huge is this matchup for LSU in terms of recruiting for 2022 and beyond? How big is this for the recruiting trail?
Yeah, so Aaron Anderson, the big flip, obviously in the last couple of weeks, it's big, obviously. I mean, Aaron's a big-time player, but let's be honest, LSU and Bama are just never going to run out of wide receivers. It's just even when you think it's going to be a drop-off, it's just never going to happen, right? So, yes, Aaron Anderson, really special. He is my number one rated wide receiver in the state of Louisiana this year, but I think that'll be fine. But obviously, Stephen, this has always been the biggest gap between LSU and Bama, and it's why Nick Saban has been able to create some separation between him and the rest of the West. It's the offensive line. LSU doesn't have Evan Neals. LSU doesn't have the Jedrick Wills, the Cam Robinsons, if you want to talk about Louisiana players. It's just never really been LSU's brand. So as far as recruiting is concerned, it's going to be key that LSU obviously is able to keep the elite offensive line prospects in the state of Louisiana this year. So, as long as LSU keeps those guys on board, obviously there's some other guys that Bama really wants, Chaz Preston, Kendrick Law. I mean, we can go down the list, but that to me is the biggest gap between LSU and Bama right now. It's not skill guys. It's definitely not that. It's the trenches. And that's where, the Will Andersons of the world has really helped stretch that gap between Bama and the rest of the West.
When you study Coach O here at Carter, it's a guy that from the state of Louisiana, he's always wanted to coach at LSU, tried and true in Creole. This is something Edo has always wanted to do and be at. And 2019, he had the miracle season with Joe Burrow at quarterback, Joe Brady, all the weapons on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, Dave Aranda as a defensive coordinator. But since then, it has not been the same. You know how aggressive Scott Woodard, as the athletic director, is, probably one of the more aggressive ADs in college football. But for Coach O, was it more so on the field purely, or was it off-field issues? Like what has kind of led to the situation where he is out after this year? What led to that in your mind?
Yeah, so you look at off-field stuff, right? That's always important, team morale. And, whenever you get deeper into more nefarious things, such as Title IX violations, that's obviously the most important thing. But look, college football comes down to if you're winning on the field. And if Ed Orgeron would have won on the field, he would still be the head coach of this football team. Ultimately, the demise of what's happened to LSU football, and we've talked about this, and if people want to check out my channel, we've done plenty of deep dives on this very thing. It's the switch from Dave Aranda's 3-4 to LSU's very static and predictable 4-3. So, for instance, you look at Bama, they run a lot of 4-2-5 nickel, but they do a lot of different things with Will Anderson. They do a lot of different things with the star position. You can't read what the defense is going to do pre-snap, whereas LSU is the exact opposite. It is as static and as predictable of a defense I've ever seen on film. So, we can sit and talk about all the off-field stuff that has happened with LSU, and a lot of it isn't great, but if this defensive scheme was better, Stephen, not only would a lot of these LSU games be more competitive, LSU would have won more of these games over the past couple of seasons against teams that they normally would be beating.
Last quick one here, Carter, if I may here. We got CarterThePower, Carter Bryant here on the show on a Wednesday. Do you see this game? I know the line on the game is 28-29 point spread in favor of Alabama, but do you see an area in this game where LSU can salvage something, LSU can keep this somewhat competitive? Do you see a spot here where it could do that?
Well, Stephen, it's hard to predict LSU. It really is. I mean, it's amazing when you play the style of football LSU plays. It's very erratic and chaotic games. You really can't call it, right? Normally Nick Saban games, normally Kirby Smart games, they follow a very similar rhythm. The LSU games are not like that. You never know what you're going to get. So, yeah, there are some things you do like about LSU in this matchup. I do think LSU, particularly on the interior of their defensive line, will be able to cause some penetration and make some plays against Brian Robinson and a really solid Bama offensive line. But this is where the difference is for me, Stephen. LSU secondary is banged up. Their best defensive back, Cordell Flott, who actually is from the state of Alabama, he's probably not going to be ready to go. He's probably out for this one. Sage Ryan, the guy that Nick Saban almost got in recruiting, is not going to be healthy. He's been really good in recent weeks. So Bama's wide receivers do have a very favorable matchup in this game. So, because LSU is so banged up, I just have a tough time believing that this game will be competitive. Now, is it a clear-cut Bama's going to cover 28? No, this is not the Bama team of last year. You guys saw the Texas A&M game on the road, so Bama's a little young. You could still see that point spread being covered, but I just still have a tough time believing that this won't, at the very least, be a Bama double-digit victory. Now, trust me, Stephen, I wish that wasn't the case. I miss LSU and Alabama being competitive. I miss 2010 Patrick Peterson versus Julio Jones. I miss those great matchups, the TJ Yeldon, all that stuff. Those are so much fun. I just want this matchup to be competitive again, and I just want LSU to, at the very least, win this game every now and then. But unfortunately, Stephen, it looks like it's going to be another blowout.
He's Carter Bryan, folks. My man Carter the Power, covering the LSU Tigers right here on the show. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, on a Wednesday. Carter, as always, my man, we appreciate you coming on here, taking time to spend with us on the show. You take care of yourself, my brother. Be good, man.
All right, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Carter Bryan, a.k.a. Carter the Power, talking some LSU football here with us on the show. We're going to take a break right here, folks. On Touch That Down. When we get back, it's back on you. Ring those phone lines. Let's get a conversation going with the Tide faithful right after this.
Don't touch that dial. Call in right now as we're taking your calls up next on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith. Brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Visit WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com now to get your four-finger bling necklace.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Marvin Constant, All-SEC linebacker and 1999 SEC champion. You are listening to In My Own Words, brought to you by Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Roll Tide.
You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your four-finger bling necklace at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your four-finger bling necklace right now at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full-year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
We are back into the action here, folks, from the break on the number one forum for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine, Bama LSU week, Crimson Tide taking on those Tigers from Baton Rouge on Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Time kickoff. ESPN will have the call from the matchup, or on the matchup, from Bryant-Denny Stadium. I am overjoyed because my Atlanta Braves won the World Series last night for the first time since 1995. The last time Atlanta won, I was a 2-year-old child. So this time around, getting the chance to watch this team win the World Series in the fashion that it did. I mean, re-sign everybody back. Bring back Dansby Swanson, Jorge Soler, Freddie Freeman, Austin Riley, Adam Duvall. Bring them all back. Ozzie Albies. Bring everybody back. Max Fried, Will Smith, everybody. Have them all back on this team because that was a fun, exciting team to watch from start to finish. Eddie Rosario, also my man Jock Peterson as well. But before we get in the phone lines, I'm going to take your calls. Call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang. My man John Alvery, what's up with them comments, man?
What's going on, man? I don't know about you, but I see a lot of Brave fans I've never seen this year. But
I'm a true one, though. I've been one since childhood.
I know you are, but I don't know, man. But just shouting out some people. I see Quality Gang Zay Moulton in here. We got Douglas Kilborn, Jim Gallagher. We have I just saw Who's Your Mama? Who's Your Mama? What's going on? Welcome to the chat. Appreciate y'all. And I just want to say too, all the trolls are welcome. You can trash talk or do whatever, it's football. But keep it sports, If you get personal, it's different. But just keep it sports. Trash talkers are welcome. Y'all need to call in too. If y'all want to talk trash in the chat, call in too, man. We want to get some of y'all calls, but turn over to Steven.
Appreciate John Alfred there reading the comments there. I'm original Braves fan right here. Been watching the Braves my whole life. Once again, winning the World Series in 95, I was 2, so I couldn't quite comprehend it then. And then from there, I grew up in the lean years, watching Rafael Furcal, Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones, Marcus Giles, Javi Lopez, Julio Franco, just so many guys. And then we thought the series would come with Brian McCann and Jeff Francoeur. That didn't happen, but this was the team to get it done. So proud of manager Snitker and everybody. So overjoyed with that. But we take our first call of the evening, 205-448-1358. Our first call of this segment, 205-448-1358. You're live on the show tonight. What's popping? What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
What's going on, Steven? This is Elijah, your boy calling from Jersey. How you feeling?
My boy Elijah from Jerseyville. What's going on, boy?
Man, since my last call up here on Monday, I've been doing a lot of research, and I've been trying to figure out what's going on with this Bama defense. I've been really trying to dig into it. And I came up with just one scenario. People don't realize how significant that injury to Chris Allen was to our defense. If you look at that game versus Miami, it was him and Will Anderson causing a ton of havoc coming from the outside. Even the play Chris Allen got hurt, that was a sack fumble play that he got hurt on. And I just truly believe Coach Saban and them knew when it came down to pressuring the quarterbacks of opposing teams, that's where it was going to come from. Ever since he got hurt, you've been seeing offenses the quarterbacks being able to sit in the pocket, just have lunch, have dinner. If you think about it, DJ Dale, I know he's not a pass rusher, he's more of a run stopper, but as far as pressuring the quarterbacks, he hasn't done a great job. Mathis is probably one of the best that we have now in the interior defensive line at pressuring, but he hasn't made a lot of noise. Byron Young, he hasn't made a lot of noise. If you look at pressuring the quarterback, we have one guy that's consistent, and that's Will Anderson. Don't get me wrong, I really feel Drew Sanders will come into his own. I believe he stepped up, especially in the run game, stopping the run. But he ain't no Chris Allen. Chris Allen was a key part to run stopping, to pressuring the quarterback coming off that edge. And I think that's the downfall. When I look at all the games, even the Florida game, we couldn't apply no pressure. Like, Chris Allen is a huge loss to us on that defensive side of the ball. And I just don't know, out of all the guys we have, who can step up really and fill those shoes when it comes to pressuring the quarterback. As far as the secondary, to be honest, I'm in total agreement with what you said a week ago. It needs to be position changes. We are 8 weeks into the season, and if guys can't get it right by now, they ain't gonna get it right. If you think about it, these ain't freshmen back there. Joe, Battle, Wright, and Helms, and the guy on the other side, Jalen Davis, they're not freshmen. Jalen Armour Davis. These guys been in the program 2 or 3 years. So you're telling me they can't get it right by now? If they can't get it right, you know what? It's time for these freshmen to come up off that bench and get it right. And I was just having a conversation with a family member of mine, and he said, Elijah, what would have happened in that championship year if they didn't bring Tua when we played Georgia? If they didn't bring Tua off the bench, if they didn't bring Najee off the bench, if they didn't bring Alex Leatherwood off the bench, and put those guys in, would y'all have beat Georgia? And I said, you know what? Don't forget, Henry Ruggs came off the bench then. Ruggs was playing. Devontae Smith, all those guys was young guys. So for the secondary, you know what? If these guys are going to still be out of position, it's time to bring some of this new blood in. And as far as the defensive line, I really don't think we're going to get that pressure up front until we find another elite edge rusher. Because I just don't think Mathis, Byron Young, and them guys are just that type of player. I don't think they're elite pass rushers. Let me know how you feel about what I'm saying.
Appreciate Elijah there for those thoughts right there. So I think Mathis is actually having a good year. He's actually enhancing his draft status. You watch him out there, he's getting to the quarterback. He's stuffing the run. He's playing with a lot of energy. In my opinion, when you put Byron Young out there, he's hitting people. He's hitting the running back. He's hitting the quarterback. It's just Byron Young, to me, isn't playing enough. That's a guy that actually needs to be starting instead of just being a rotationary piece. He needs to be actually starting. I do agree. Losing Chris Allen does hurt because Alabama put a lot in and invested a lot in Chris Allen being that guy at that strong side backer position, getting pressure. And after having a season last year where he had 13 tackles for loss to lead the SEC, everybody was really depending on my boy C.A., Chris Allen, to have a monster year. And he was on the verge of doing so prior to the injury in the game there against Miami. So I do agree. Chris Allen getting hurt is a big loss. But I do say Mathis is making money for himself for the upcoming draft. And when Byron Young is out there, he's hitting guys. He's making plays. In my opinion, you probably need to start Byron Young. But we're going to take this call right here. You're live on the show on a Wednesday. What's poppin'? What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
You know who it is, Mr. Smith. It's Kyle from Foley, Alabama.
We got the real man, Kyle, in here.
Now, when we're talking about the defense altogether, losing Chris Allen was definitely big for Alabama. But the way that you fix that is through the defensive coordinator, and the way you get Alabama's not getting pressure with just rushing three. It's got to be by committee. It's got to be different disguises, different blitzes, blitz linebackers, blitz corners. Alabama's got to mix it up. It's just not one of those years where Alabama can get there with their D linemen. It's just not going to happen. I know Will Anderson's the All-American and everything, but Alabama this year is just not getting the pressure like usually because we don't have those big defensive tackles, the number one draft picks that we've had for the last several years. They're just not getting it done. So therefore, Pete Golden, I know y'all don't want to talk about him. Lord, we could talk all night. That clown, he's got to adjust. Now it's not going to show in the LSU game because LSU. Let's speak real, people. We got Maplesville High School could probably go out there and compete with LSU. But when we get into the home stretch, Arkansas, Auburn, Georgia, we're going to need to mix up our disguises on defense. We just can't be vanilla and just expect to get there with our three. I'm expecting this week off. Nick Saban, he's liked what he's seen, so maybe we're going to see something different coming out Saturday night. What do you say, Mr. Smith?
Well, Kyle, I appreciate that call right there on your end. And Coach Saban did talk about the attention to detail's been there, the energy's been there, the focus has been there. And when you have an Alabama team that puts its full attention on one team, there could be some mix-ups. There could be some matchup situations. There could be some personnel changes. So that'll be something I will keep my eyes on, especially looking from the press box area in the game, how much personnel groupings, how much personnel difference could be there on the field. But I got to shout out my man Jimmy Clay right here with that $10 donation, helping us out here on the show, showing us the love here on the platform. I'm going to go to a quick topic right here, folks. Appreciate everybody calling in, writing in, texting in, and letting your thoughts be made known. 205-448-1358, the number to get your voice be heard. 205-448-1358. Calling that number right there. But a quick topic here, back to the NFL. The Miami Dolphins are not trading Tua Tagovailoa. What? They're not doing it? The Miami Dolphins, who have been interested for so long in Deshaun Watson and wanting to make a deal with the Houston Texans yesterday, was the NFL trade deadline, and Miami does not pull the trigger and get Watson. It hangs on to Tua Tagovailoa. Now, what does this mean? Does this mean that Brian Flores and Chris Greer are all in on Tua? Does this mean that maybe they're looking for another avenue to work out another type of trade? Who knows what this means, but at least for right now, this is saying that there is still some confidence that the front office of the Miami Dolphins still has. Now, my thing would be is for Greer, is for Brian Flores to reinvigorate that confidence in Tua and not just saying in front of these press conferences, hey, Tua's our guy. No, not just say Tua's our guy. Explain why Tua is your guy. Go into more detail as to why Tua Tagovailoa is your guy. Because the last 2 weeks, when you talk the Jaguars and the Falcons, Tua has been playing lights out football, completing 75% of passes, 620 passing yards, 6 touchdowns. He is playing really strong the last 2 weeks. So as of right now, trade deadline over. Dolphins not trading Tua. He is continuing to be the quarterback here for Miami. But we go to a break right here, folks, on the show, and touch that dial, because when we get back, we get into, why Alabama has its full attention on LSU and has had its full attention on the Tigers for the last 2 weeks here. We bring that up and tidying up loose ends after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to STSFootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to STSFootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today.
Look at all these great players in Touchdown Alabama magazine. Man, wait till I turn up this year. I'm gonna be on the front cover. But what if Will goes off? Or Joe, DeMarco, Chris, Tim, Christian.
Don't wait. Order now at touchdownalabama.com or call 833-483-2624 today.
Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
We are back in here from the break to the action here on a Wednesday, Hump Day, hottest show on the streets, number one form for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine, appreciating you, the fans, writing in, calling in, texting in, chatting in, donating in, doing all you can to make this your show, your network, your platform, your place to let your voice, let your opinions, your passion be made known about your football program, that being the Crimson Tide. But before we get into the final topic of conversation, got to remind you of TDAwear.com. That's TDAwear.com. So for all of you fans still overjoyed with the Crimson Tide's national championship from 2020, we want you to check out our championship collection merch. This means you grab you an 18 of them things, folk, hoodie, t-shirt or sweatshirt, as well as our Got 18 We Do shirts. Designs that feature all 18 championship years on the back. You head on over to tdawear.com. Do it right now, tdawear.com. You go over Championship Collections merch tab, and you get you that gear today, showing that support for Coach Saban, University of Alabama, the student athletes, and us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But and look at here, Alabama taking on LSU Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Time. Kickoff from Bryant-Denny Stadium. ESPN will have the call there on the matchup. And Coach Saban talked about it in today's presser. He's been really pleased. Been very pleased with the energy, with the effort, with the attention to detail, with the attitude being shown in practice, not just this week, but even during the bye week last week. He talked about how guys were focused, guys were intense, guys were prepared, guys were about it, guys were getting rest in, getting the recuperation for their body, being attentive and everything being done in terms of making sure everything is front and center coming off this bye week, making the second half push, trying to win a national championship. Now, the players are really focused on this game, especially the older guys. Fedarian Mathis spoke this week. Brian Robinson spoke on Tuesday, and B-Rob talked about it. He said, the older guys on this team, we remember what happened in 2019. We remember all the disrespect we felt in 2019. We remember all that went on. Like, we have kept the conversation going. That stuff still lingers. Like, we ain't letting that die down. We letting people know, hey, we ain't finna get embarrassed like this. We ain't finna get disrespected like this at home at Bryant-Denny ever on our home turf. Like, B-Rob let that thing do what it do. He sat there and opened up about that entire conversation. And while Coach O, Ed Ogeron, mentioned today in the SEC coaches teleconference that he meant no disrespect by his Roll Tide profanity-laced statement in the locker room back in 2019, B-Rob still feel like, hey, you can say whatever you want to. We still feel disrespected. You can say whatever you want to. We still remember that. You can say whatever you want to. That's still playing in the back of our minds right now. So this is coming from Brian Robinson discussing how the older players, they know what's going on. The older players, they feel what's going on. The older players, they're ready to get after it here on this weekend against the LSU. And when you look at Coach Saban, and when you look at Coach Saban and this team right now, just for me, I'm expecting a marquee performance in this matchup. Now, number one, keep your eyes on the Alabama defense in this game right here. In all 6 championship years under Coach Saban, 2009, 11, 12, 15, 17, even last year, 2020, the Bama defense has pitched at least one shutout in all 6 championship years. The defense has had one game in all of those years where it just went bananas. It went crazy and pitched a shutout, shut the other team down, blanked them on the scoreboard. So watch this game against LSU. I mean, this could be the matchup where you're coming in a lot of focus, a lot of energy, a lot of intensity, wanting to reclaim your home back in Bryant-Denny. That Ed O said in 2019, this is our house from now on. We own Tuscaloosa. We own Bryant-Denny. Ed O said this. So this is a team in Alabama, really intense, really energized, full attention, full focus on the details here in practice, in the film room, in meeting room. So this is a huge matchup here for an Alabama defense in taking on an LSU offense that is going to be without some starters, including wide receiver Kayshon Boutte. So watch this defense try to get that first major shutout, first big shutout of the season to boost that confidence moving forward here coming off the bye week. Now, another reason why this is a big game for Alabama and a statement game for Alabama, the prophecies for Ed Ogeron have just, they've not worked out. The prophecies for Coach O, all the statements he has made since that win, have not worked out according to plan. Remember, in the locker room, what did he say? We're going to beat Alabama in recruiting. Well, let's just dive into that, shall we? For Alabama, in the 6 years it's won a national championship, 4 of those years, the following spring, Alabama ended up with the number 1 recruiting class. When you win a national championship, it's supposed to guarantee you the number 1 class in the spring, because all of these 18-year-old kids should be like, hey, they won a title, they got a ring, they got the natty. I want to go play for them. I want to go play for that coach. I want to win a ring too. I want to be a champion too, right? When you discuss Alabama, 2011, won a national championship. 2012, number 1 class. Won a national championship in 2012. 2013, number 1 class. Won a national championship in 2015. 2016, number 1 class. Won a national championship 2020. This year, number 1 class. LSU won the national championship last year. Not last year, 2019. Did not get the number 1 class in 2020. Got number 4, and Alabama got number 2 in the nation in terms of recruiting. Alabama beat LSU on that end. 2021 in recruiting, Alabama got the number 1 class. LSU, number 3. Bama beat LSU in recruiting. Even with this class right here, 2022 coming up here, Alabama with 18 hard verbal commitments, it has the number 2 class in the country. LSU with 14 verbal commitments, the number 12 class in the country. So, Coach O not beating Alabama in recruiting. What about beating Alabama on the field? Coach O said that. After winning in 2019, LSU got mollywopped, bamboozled, taken to school on their own turf at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. Death Valley got beaten 55-17. 55-17. I mean, there's a difference between losing by 5 and losing by 38. LSU fans will say, we took it to Alabama, we beat Alabama down, we dominated Alabama. You won by 5 points. You won over a Tua Tagovailoa playing on one ankle, still giving you the breast, the wing, the thigh, and the chicken leg. Tua threw for 418 yards and 4 touchdowns. If Alabama had a bit more time on that clock, he would have beaten LSU. LSU escaped and won by 5. Alabama demolished LSU at Tiger Stadium, 55-17. I mean, Mac Jones had a field day. Devontae Smith cooked Derek Stingley's lunch and ate it. The Alabama defense went out there and did its thing, shutting LSU down there. That was demolishing in terms of Alabama taking care of LSU. So Coach O has not beaten Alabama on the field. It's not beating Alabama in recruiting. So his prophecies have not gone into fruition. And in this matchup Saturday, Alabama's got its full attention, its full focus, its full eyes on the Tigers. Looking forward here to this game. But as always, Tide Nation, you want the best news, notes, information, and coverage on your favorite program, that being the Crimson Tide. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You download the app from the iPhone App Store. If you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store. If you got the Android phone, for your audio listening needs, we got you taken care of. iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, Overcast.fm, or iHeartRadio. The good and gracious Lord sees fit. I'll be back on Friday continuing the conversation that is Tide football. Remember, Bama fans, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Have those sent to your door. That link will be in the description. You can also get the fresh edition, print edition of TDA, the magazine, by going to touchdownalabama.com, click join, become a member, a subscriber today. That link in the description. You can also get you a 4-finger bling necklace, 4-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of our guys at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. That link in the description too. But until next time, folks, husbands, love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children, continue doing the right thing, fun thing, good thing, smart thing, legitimate thing, to not be bored. You know what time it is. You grab you those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. You protect yourself, protect the loved ones around you. Until next time, folks, I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith. You know what this is. You've been listening to In My Own Words.